Yuki Tsunoda recently delivered one of the most surprising and captivating moments of the Formula One season, and he didn't need a pole position, a fastest lap, or a dramatic overtake to do it. What he said over the radio during his first official session as a Red Bull driver at the Japanese Grand Prix left fans stunned, engineers quietly impressed, and even his own team momentarily speechless. Imagine the scene. It's your first real chance to drive for Red Bull, one of the most high-pressure and closely scrutinized roles in motorsport. You're racing at home, with all eyes on you. Despite the intense pressure, most drivers would be extremely cautious or nervously trying to impress. Yet, in a moment when most would be feeling the weight of the occasion, Tsunoda calmly grabbed the radio and delivered a message that was as composed as it was bold. Without hesitation, he spoke with confidence and focus that immediately set the tone for the rest of the weekend. He wasn't there just to take up a seat. He was there to prove something grand. Now, the big question people are asking is this the real Yuki Tsunoda we've been waiting for? Has Red Bull finally unlocked the version of Tsunoda that fans have been hoping to see? In today's video, we're going to break down what this shocking radio message actually said, what it reveals about his mindset, and how this performance in Suzuka might change the perception of his role within the team going forward. If you want to know exactly why Red Bull and the entire paddock are suddenly paying much closer attention to Yuki Tsunoda, stick with us. Let's start with the moment that left everyone in shock. During the first free practice session, right after completing a lap that was less than 4/10 behind Max Verstappen, the four-time world champion, Tsunoda immediately grabbed the radio with a message that was as unexpected as it was sincere, though a little confusing. He said, "I can give you feedback, but I found the car interesting on track." It was all calm, no panic, no overthinking, just a straightforward and composed response. This was a driver who had often been criticized for being overly emotional, overly reactive, and erratic on team radios. But this message was a revelation. It wasn't just what he said, but how he said it. The tone, the delivery, the timing. Everything in that moment showed maturity and clarity that Red Bull hadn't seen from him before. And for a team that places massive importance on driver communication, that wasn't just a good impression, it was a statement. Now, talking about performance during that session, Tsunoda ended up in 6th place, just 1/10 behind Verstappen, which is no small feat considering that Verstappen isn't exactly known for leaving crumbs behind. Tsunoda was faster than Sergio Perez, who usually performs similarly in such sessions, and notably, he was closer to Verstappen than Lawson had ever been during his brief time in the car. In fact, Tsunoda's lap time of 1 minute 29.172 was only a blink away from Verstappen's time of 1 minute 29.065. He even completed more laps in the session. Sure, the second free practice session was less representative due to multiple red flag periods, and Tsunoda didn't manage a clean lap on soft tires like most of the other drivers, but that doesn't take away from the impression he made earlier in the day. What makes his radio message even more fascinating is that despite a confusing session and unpredictable conditions, Tsunoda remained unshaken. He stayed focused. He didn't lose his composure. This is a stark contrast to the driver we've seen in the past. Tsunoda had been passed over for the second Red Bull seat when Sergio Perez left, with the team giving the opportunity to Liam Lawson. Red Bull's decision came in response to concerns about Tsunoda's consistency and his discipline on the radio. Even Helmut Marko had pointed out that Tsunoda needed to work on his composure during races. But when he arrived at Suzuka, Tsunoda didn't just stay calm. He delivered one of the most mature and stable performances of his career. It's also important to note how Tsunoda handled the pressure from every angle. The media, the fans, and even the internal pressure within Red Bull were all mounting. Before the weekend, Tsunoda had admitted that Helmut Marko hadn't even called him to personally acknowledge his promotion, a slight that many drivers would take as a slap in the face. But not Tsunoda. He shrugged it off and focused on leaving his mark where it really mattered, on the track. Without undermining the technical side of this transition, let's acknowledge that the RB21 isn't an easy car to tame. Tsunoda had only driven it in simulator sessions prior to the weekend, but he adapted quickly. After the first session, He commented that the car felt different from the simulator, showing just how quickly he was adjusting his expectations and learning in real time. This wasn't the same rookie from before. This was a driver turning the page in his career. For a long time, Red Bull has struggled to find a second driver who can genuinely align with Max Verstappen's car preferences. Even drivers like Gasly, Albon, Perez, and even Ricciardo had struggled to find confidence with the rear-end behavior and balance of the car. But Tsunoda, in just one practice session, seemed more comfortable than many of his predecessors. Where does that leave us looking ahead? Yuki Tsunoda hasn't been officially confirmed for the full season yet, but if this is how he's starting with Red Bull, they might be reconsidering that decision sooner than expected. His focus, his pace, and his attitude are all ticking the right boxes. More importantly, he's providing Verstappen with something he hasn't felt in a while: internal pressure. You see, as dominant as Max Verstappen is, and as complete as his skill set may be, even he benefits from having a motivated teammate who can push the team forward. If Tsunoda can continue to stay close to Verstappen on lap times and maintain that level of maturity on the radio, we could be witnessing the beginning of a real intra-team rivalry. And Red Bull loves this kind of dynamic because it elevates the entire team's performance. What we're witnessing with Yuki Tsunoda right now may seem subtle, just a few words over the radio, but in the political and performance-driven world of Formula One, this could mark the beginning of something much bigger. That radio message wasn't just about giving feedback. It was a declaration. A driver taking on one of the most coveted and high-pressure seats in motorsport, and making it clear from the start that he wasn't intimidated. He wasn't there just to watch. He wasn't there to be the reserve driver. It takes a special mindset to convey that clarity under pressure, especially in a home Grand Prix, surrounded by national pride, high expectations, and the weight of 1,000 headlines. But Tsunoda delivered. His comments about not needing reference times, about focusing on his own rhythm, and his calm return at the end of the session, all demonstrated a driver who had matured in his approach and was ready to embrace the demands of driving for Red Bull, not just the junior team, but the main team. In fact, what we might be seeing here